So hello and welcome to Sally Garozzo. So Sally was in the last edition of Coach Magazine and she shared a really interesting article with us about how coaching meets therapy and specifically around RTT, which is Rapid Transformational Therapy. And so Sally's a clinical hypnotherapist and an RTT therapist and hugely passionate about the approach to well-being and a sort of innovative approach to health and well-being. And she helps clients to find freedom from their past patterns and find happiness and self-worth, which sounds amazing, and we all want some of that. So welcome, Sally. Thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Great to have you. So for the people that did read the article, that's great. They might know a little bit about it. But for the people that didn't read the article yet, it started off by saying, when we think of coaching, we probably think about strategy and accountability for the business and all those kinds of words. But, it talks about how combining the therapy with the coaching can help. So let's just talk a little bit about that first before we move on to what RTT is and all the good stuff involved with it.
Yeah, I think it works really well, actually, because what therapy does generally is go into the past and it looks at all the programming, looks at all the reasons behind the sort of subconscious programming that often we're just totally not aware of. And that can really block some of say if you're working with somebody as a coach and you're trying to get them to change, that can, if they've got blocks, maybe you're giving them a strategy, but if they've got blocks from way back when, they might just keep bumping up against a wall and just not really know why they can't make that change. And then they'll end up getting super frustrated. So I don't know what kinds of things you would give someone as a strategy development, or maybe you're getting them to have some research calls with potential clients, or maybe they're developing something and they need to do some research calls, for example. Maybe there's a fear around engaging with other people, or maybe there's a fear about going live, or maybe there's a fear of visibility or public.
Often the case, right? Often the case, in my experience,
yeah, mine too as well. I've probably had the most RTT out of anyone.
Well, walk your talk, Sally. That's great. I'd love it. Yeah. But it works. That's the thing. And of course, we've all got those blocks and those fears, and we need each other to help us through them in all the different zones. So bringing the therapy in helps to kind of unpack that, if I can find them, and then the coaching can take it forward. And there's lots of lovely ways that it can work together. But what you're saying is that a lot of coaching is probably more at the conscious level.
I think so. I mean, coaching that I've had, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are coaches out there that do both. And I know you're a counsellor as well, or you've got a counselling background, haven't you?
Yeah, I have some counselling training, and obviously the NLP training is really a therapy as well. And bringing all of those in, I find incredibly useful because I see as well the sort of traditional coaching pathways. You need the other bits around it. So I've also signed myself up to do some psychotherapy training and some transactional analysis training because A, I'm really interested in that.
Yeah. But
B, I'm working with people. And so sometimes the straightforward strategy, like you suggest, there isn't always enough. But it is extremely useful and powerful. We know that action beats most things. Yeah. But we also want to feel good about what we're doing and feel aligned with ourselves. So that's the way that I approach mine for sure. Yeah. And it says here as well, you talk about RTT and clinical hypnotherapy works in that deeper place where it says here most of those blocks emanate from, like you just explained.
So what we do, so in RTT, so RTT is the only form of hypnotherapy that I currently do. So clinical hypnotherapy sort of is the umbrella term, and then underneath that you can do lots of different types of hypnotherapy. So at the moment, RTT is the only one I do. But I love it because it's hugely powerful, and the reason it's powerful is because we go back to scenes in a person's life. So visual scenes where they might have picked up a belief that is really blocking them or stopping them. So a belief that I'm not good enough, a belief that I don't have a voice, a belief that I can't earn over a certain amount of money, a belief that I'm not lovable. I mean, there's so many beliefs that we carry that block us.
Mm.
A belief that says food will comfort me, you know, a
Yeah.
belief that says I can only connect with others if I drink wine with them.
Yeah.
You know, there's
And of
no
course
other
we
way.
believe our thoughts, don't we? So we continue to sort of
What
self-perpetuate all
happens
of that.
I think when we're children, we're so impressionable. We don't quite realize how impressionable we are as a child, and we are literally in hypnosis. Children between the ages of, I think it's like 2 or 3, and then when you get up to age around about 7 or 8, you are in pure hypnosis. So a child is in hypnosis, literally being suggestible, soaking up everything that is around them. So they're like a sponge.
They are, and just to share as well, when that penny really, really dropped with me, is that when I was training in NLP and we learnt all about anchors and things like that, I thought, well, I'm going to test this with Mia and I'll set her an anchor for, anxiety in her class pre-test. I can't remember quite what it was. And she was like 8, 9, something like that. I can't remember. And I'd done it with adults, and you test the anchor and can you bring that feeling back, and all. It was quite good. But then when I did it with Mia, it was like instant. And then so when she sort of tested the anchor that she'd chosen, the place she'd chosen to elicit that feeling again, she was like, yeah, it works. And I was like, well, hold on a minute, are you sure about that? Are you sure? And she was like, yeah, it works, Mummy, it's fine. And I thought, oh my goodness, like literally doing that process with her had embedded so quickly, so effectively, because her brain and her mind is literally like plasticine. We're putting all these imprints on them, with what we are doing and all the mapping on, and they're absorbing them. And I think that was the first time I literally saw that in front of my own eyes.
She's
and it was
lucky,
really powerful.
She's got a mum like you who's into all this growth stuff. But unfortunately, a lot of parents or a lot of clients who I see, their parents are so destructive, so toxic, and they're really making their children feel unsafe in the world, making them feel, rejected, like they can't connect with people, and they're really not being heard. Their voices aren't being heard. And those are one of the 3, the 3 childhood needs, or the 3 needs that we have in childhood, is the need to feel safe and secure, the need to feel validated and seen, like we matter, like our opinions matter, or our, what we create matters, what we think matters, what we feel, especially what we feel, that matters.
Yes.
And the 3rd one is a feeling of we must feel like we're the same as everybody else.
Right.
So that's, in a sense, that's about finding connection and avoiding rejection. So if we feel different for whatever reason, if we feel, I was half Italian, and I was like, well, I am half Italian.
I was going to say, you still are, hopefully.
Yeah. And when I used to go to school, I would take leftover pasta, I would take, mortadella and salami sandwiches and olives, and that I got teased for that because, that was different. And that left a bit of a mark, on my sort of Italian identity, excuse me. So
in a negative way, you're feeling, oh, well, that's taking the mickey out of me, that's not good, I'm different, I'm going to not be like that anymore, or yeah, because
it makes you feel rejected, like you're not part of the gang or part of the tribe. We're tribal creatures, aren't we? We need
absolutely, we're pack hunters, and we do,
animals,
as adults, we seek that rapport. I mean, you see all the time talking about, find like-minded people, work with people like yourself, because we seek that rapport. We don't seek out difference, but of course there's so many learnings and gems in difference. But going back to talking about children, that's not how they experience it. So of course that can lead to these blocks and things that get, I mean, you mentioned these patterns in the article actually, saying that the needs aren't met in childhood, and we create protection mechanisms to meet those needs instead. So I guess when you get to something like RTT, we're trying to undo what has been done in this past space. Am I right in thinking that?
Even things like bulimia, is a protection mechanism. So a lot of kids that have been bullied will develop bulimia. It's a pattern that I see quite a lot. And the bulimia is there as a protection mechanism. What it's saying is, if I throw up, that means I'm not going to put any weight on, which means I'll be safe, because maybe they were bullied for their appearance. And usually people are bullied for their appearance when they're kids. I see it, it's so much in young female adults, you know, who have been bullied. So anything, I mean, OCD is a protection. You know,
they're all
cleaning,
strategies, aren't they, to cope with things, you know?
Exactly. They're all, like you say, strategies to cope. Excuse me.
Yeah, and this is it. And of course, then people start believing those and needing those and using those, and can't just decide one day not to throw up, can't just decide one day not to do that, because it's embedded a little too deeply. And of course we can make our choices, but I think there's areas like you're talking about now which definitely need more. So where does, it's quite a mouthful, isn't it? Rapid transformational therapy. So tell us what that is in basic, first of all.
So it's a 2-hour process that's done under hypnosis. And the first part of the session is, once you're in hypnosis, you go back to those scenes, those key scenes in your childhood where you might have picked up a certain belief about why you don't feel good enough, or whatever the belief is that you've come with, excuse me. Then what we do is we have a look at those scenes and we really analyze them, and we're like detectives. We're going in and just really having a look and finding out why you are the way that you are today because of what happened to you.
And that's done through talk.
It's done through talk. So someone's reclining back, you know, they're very relaxed, their eyes are closed, and because the thing is, when your eyes are closed, the link between your mind and body is wide open. Your body cannot lie. Your body, in the waking consciousness state, your body will always try to sort of stop you feeling emotions, because it's a protection again. But when you're lying down and you're in hypnosis, the heart and the mind is wide open. So you can't really trick the body.
No, of course you can't. And the reason I'm smiling is because I just finished a coaching session before I came on with you, because I was a bit late. And exactly half the way through that, I said to my client, can you just close your eyes? And it was completely different. And what happened in that space was just, incredibly powerful, because it just took out all of those distractions, all of that sort of cognitive thinking, and allowed the client to connect, and completely different things came out. And I'm not a hypnotherapist, I don't do anything like that, but obviously just having that closed space like that, and that just like imagine and see is totally different. So really simple but really powerful. And I think a lot of people think hypnosis is what they might have seen on different kinds of shows, and it's quite deep and intense, but it's really just a really suggestible state, isn't it, to allow you to connect.
Absolutely.
All right in thinking that.
You are. I mean, some people are more suggestible than others, and some people really do go, they really absolutely believe that they cannot open their eyes, because I've told them can't open their eyes, and they're like, oh my God, I really can't open my eyes. What the fuck is happening?
Amazing.
But they feel relaxed. There's no panic at all. It's you're very much in the moment. And some people are lighter. They're in a lighter trance, but it doesn't really matter.
No.
Hypnotherapy is all about going along with it. Really.
Yeah, I like that. I like that, because there's no point fighting a process, is there? Because you're not going to get anything out of fighting something. So that's interesting in itself.
If you paid me,
I know.
To go and have a session, you're so vested, you're invested in making it work, so you are going to go along with it.
You would think so. Although it's interesting sometimes, isn't it, that people are always trying these different fixes and they just won't let it happen. It's just too scared of things. So then you'd see that as well as a therapist, I'm sure.
People can be very scared of feeling, but I always say to people, just allow the feeling to be felt. It will just pass through you, like we were saying earlier. These things don't last. Feelings are ephemeral. They just go poof, like a puff of smoke. They don't last very long unless you stay in the doldrums.
In the state, exactly. So 2 hours under the hypnosis,
Yeah, I didn't quite
and
finish off, did I? So we do
visit
the
the
regression.
scenes, talk about what's gone on and how that's being
And then
created.
we change the meaning that you attach to those scenes, because it's never the scene that affects you, it's the meaning that you attach.
Yeah.
Like anything, you know, it's the meaning that you attach to anything. If you can attach any meaning to anything, you drop your phone, you crack your screen, it can break your day or it can make your day, you know.
It means, oh, I can get a new phone now. Yeah, exactly.
Yay! Or it can be like, oh my God, the world is against me.
Exactly. And what means something to me means something completely different to you, but it looks like the same stuff. So it's all so unique, isn't it? That's the thing that I love and really work with.
And it is a choice. People don't realize they have a choice when it comes to perception and how they're perceiving a situation. So in RTT, what we do is half the time it's just about giving the client their voice back.
Yeah.
So in childhood, you are helpless. You are so dependent on the adults around you. And if you're treated badly, you feel trapped, you feel powerless, you can't get out of that situation. So you create these coping mechanisms in adult life. But as an adult, you're not trapped. You're really, really not trapped. You have so many more choices as an adult. You have so many more options. You know, you can go to your boss and tell him that he's a dick or whatever and walk out. You can do that. And
you can do that.
You can do that.
I'm sure lots of people listening might have done that at
Yeah,
certain stages of their lives. Yeah, one form or another. Yeah, you're right though. It's always your choice. Yeah.
You don't have to be bullied.
No.
You can walk away from a situation. And so really what we do is we use the imagination to have those conversations with the people that hurt you as a child, and we give you your voice back, and it's so cathartic. Like clients are in tears when they're having these conversations, maybe with the bully or maybe with the abuser or maybe with a parent that just didn't have time for the child. And then eventually we get them to swap places, so you become the person, and then you tell you, because you're looking at you in your mind, all those things you needed to hear as a child. Have you seen the end of Rocket Man? Have you seen Rocket Man?
No. What, the Elton John film?
The Elton John film, yeah.
No, I didn't.
So at the very, very end, the film is set him in an AA meeting, basically.
Right. Okay.
And there's lots of other scenes weaved into it, obviously. But at the end, you see him having a conversation with a younger version of him.
Right.
You see his parents coming in, and it's all very, I don't know what the word is in cinema, but it's done, you can tell it's all in his imagination. It's quite ephemeral. So yeah, that's what an RTT session is like. It's a movie in your mind.
Yeah, it's amazing because a lot of these things, you know, sort of fundamentally are very similar. We've got different names and therapies for them because, you know, that sounds very similar to NLP timeline therapy, you know, therapy that I've done where you're moving people and they disassociate, and then, you know, healing. It's a healing process, and different ways, you know, different names of things really, but it's the same outcome. Is creating that healing, getting rid of those blocks so that you can actually move forward. And of course, different things appeal to different people. It's interesting. It's very interesting. So, I mean, we mentioned here phobias. So people with phobias, it obviously causes a lot of problems in their life. And you talk about, you know, the different timelines, I suppose, between a phobia can be, you know, transformed quite quickly, instantly. But then things like, you know, a deeper depression or chronic illness takes longer.
Yeah.
So when we talk about you talk about the 2-hour session.
Yeah.
Does it depend on what the person is trying to achieve and what they're dealing with?
Yeah. I mean, the session's always going to be 2 hours. Plus, I coach people as well, and they also get a recording to listen to.
Mentions the recording.
Yeah, the recording is super powerful because it rewires the brain. So the brain cells actually change shape and they rewire.
Yeah.
You listen to that recording, as you know,
Amazing.
Neuroplasticity. So it's repetition. The mind loves repetition. You know, you've been repeating the same old crap for the last 20 years. It's going to take a little bit of time to rewire. But the recording helps to speed things up. And there are 4 ways that we see transformation. The first way is instant. So if somebody comes, I had a client that came with fear of heights, and I live on the 4th floor, so I had to put the down.
The irony.
Yeah, I know, the irony. And then afterwards he was like, yeah, great, yeah, this is great, I can look out the window, no problem. So that was good.
Amazing. And yet you think about that, that's 2 hours under that hypnosis, in that process, doing that, and that could have haunted him, and probably did, for I don't know, however many years, and stopped him going up the shard and doing things, and maybe flying and all kinds of stuff. And yet just to think that these things can be resolved by the reprogramming. It's like we have all those resources to do that all the time. And of course, someone else can facilitate that happening in our mind. But that to me is just, I don't know, so powerful, because people just live with these things for so long, thinking that they have no choice, like you mentioned, that they have to, and that I am scared of heights, and that's it, like full stop.
And often people think that what they've got to go through to cure the phobia is more terrifying than having the phobia itself.
Really?
But it's actually not. It's, you know, I always say to people, you've got to go to some emotions. You've got to do the work. You've got to go in, you've got to look and shine a light into yourself. You've got to feel a few things.
Got to go through it.
Terrified of feeling.
Right.
You know, what would
you see that a lot, do you? You see that a lot in your work?
I see that with resistant clients. They're terrified of feeling, and then when they do feel, they get stuck in it. So this is one of the ways that change occurs, is the 4th way, in that the RTT session itself seemingly hasn't worked and it's made somebody worse, right? So what was happened there, and this is usually people who have never done any work on themselves and who have a slight tendency towards depression.
Okay.
Because depression can be really sticky, I find. Anxiety is easier to cure than depression. I find depression really quite heavy, quite sticky, and I don't work with a lot of people who have depression for that reason.
Yeah, totally
I find
understand.
it personally really draining, unless they're really committed and they really want to try to get better. But yeah, so the stepping stone, so the 4th way that the RTT works is what I call stepping stone. So it hasn't quite worked the first time, you might need another treatment, or you might need something else. Normally, like.
And why might that be, in terms of, like, if they didn't have depression, for instance, let's discard that one just for context, and it didn't seem to work, or it had gone deeper and made it a bit worse. Is that deeper part that didn't seem to work connected with people suffering depression more, or could that just happen with anyone?
Say, for example, if someone's having a big life transition, so maybe they're getting divorced, or there's been a death or grief in the family, or some kind of trauma. Sometimes if someone's not necessarily depressed but are going through something traumatic, often the first session can be like just opening the wound a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
And then you need just to go in a little bit further.
It's just not quite enough. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so that can be, I find that sometimes, I know with people that have got PTSD or had PTSD that you know, one session's it's never gonna quick fix. Your quick fixes are for things like your sort of average fear, or a little bit of anxiety, or maybe giving up drinking.
It's relative, isn't it? Relative to the, I understand. I mean, things as well, like you referenced before, Sally, things that have taken all these years to build up, and all these coping strategies, one on top of another, and then sometimes when they don't work anymore, we add some more on, some different ones. So it stands to reason that, you know, the deeper the problem, or the further back it goes, the more time and tools it may take to unravel that. You know, it makes sense. And I think it's really important, isn't it, to position expectations, because I imagine you will have had clients that come to you with a lot of this and think, fix me, that's it, you know, I just have my one session and I'm done. Do you ever experience that?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think RTT in the past, when it was first very popular, Marissa Peer was sort of promising quite a lot, over promising, and I think she sort of calmed down on those promises now, and
Mm.
she says sort of between 1 and 3 treatments.
Yeah,
I
realistic.
wouldn't, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, generally speaking, wouldn't do more than 3 on
Okay.
somebody, not like more than 3 in a year. If they wanted to come
Oh,
back
really? That kind of
later.
timeline as well, like 3 in a year maximum.
Yeah, I would
Mm.
say so, because if it's not really had an impact,
Yeah,
I would say go and try something else.
something else. Yeah.
Go and try, like, I've just done a tantra weekend, which was amazing.
Oh, wow.
And it was all about feeling into your body and using your body and your senses.
Mm.
So often people can get stuck in their mind and can really like overthink things,
Yes, yes.
especially people who've had trauma,
Yeah, of
highly
course.
traumatized, and they really don't want to feel, and their subconscious mind is not letting them feel, and
Mm.
they're literally like having a hypnosis session with their eyes open.
Well,
That's happened.
exactly. Of course, that cognitive thinking is not going to solve anything there, is it? And
No.
like you said at the beginning as well, we are all one piece and connecting, heart, mind,
Yeah.
conscious and unconscious as well to create all of those shifts. And different people, we all need different things at different times, and some people try lots of things and then finally find what works. And so it's very important, I think, for people to understand that there's one approach is this, one approach is that, but people do tend to seek out, or don't they, find what they need. I mean, certain clients that will come to you for what you do will mostly tend to be the right ones. I mean, yeah. So,
Oh yeah, I always believe that. I've learned
yeah.
so much from just doing clients, because you learn
This
off
is
the
it.
move, don't
That's
you?
where the experience is. Like, that's where the gold is. And so, you're spending a lifetime, or certainly I'm spending a lifetime. I intend to coaching and helping, going deeper, discovering more, and on myself as well. There is no, okay, you're done, we're done, because there's always something else. And I think that is a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful journey for people to be on. And there's, you meet people at different parts of their road and different parts of their journey. And you get a lot of the comparisonitis coming out of that as well. I should be here, I should be there. And certainly in the coaching world, where you should be, what you should be doing, how you should be doing it. But I always try and reframe myself and my clients back to like where you are at right now, and where you want to be just the next couple of steps, because otherwise it's just too much. And I think as well, we talked about doing I was going to put myself forward, wasn't I, for an RTT session. And so I could do a video testimonial and talk about it and sort of share that with others as well. So we must try and do that. And I was trying to find a quick thing that I'm sort of worried about. And, I suppose the thing for me is just, I thought it was very general. I couldn't really find something like spiders or heights or anything like that. And when I thought of the things that I was scared of, for instance, and fear, it's funny, isn't it? I was scared. I'm not particularly keen on flying, so that's very common. When I ask myself, why are you not particularly keen on flying? It's not because I don't want to travel, it's because I've got to trust somebody else that I don't know, that's in charge of me, and there's nothing I can do. So it's that kind of out of control. So it links with the control and wanting to be able to manage things and all kinds of stuff like that. So it got me thinking, what would I use in our session, and how would I share it?
It can also work with relationships as well. Like if you want to bring in new love, you can work on your own sense of lovability and feeling like you are lovable. So I work with a lot of people around their relationships as well, which is really interesting.
That's interesting. I mean, I wouldn't mind bringing in a bit of new love. I mean, that sounds quite nice. I don't know if I've got the time to help it to grow, but yeah, whatever we do, I think as well, it's like these things need to be quite instinctive. The guy came and he knew he had a fear of heights. So we'll think about that. But yeah, it would be great to experience it and to share it with people, which I will do. And it's all super fascinating, but it helps people to change. That's the end result, isn't it? It helps you to change, to shift, and to not carry really all these burdens and problems and beliefs, because that's all they are, just beliefs.
Well, that's right. We do. We don't often realize how much baggage we're carrying from the past, and the story.
Until you put it down.
I know. The relief is just mind-blowing. But you know, one of the things I've recently been thinking about is the story we tell ourselves, or the narrative that we've got playing. And often with clients, because I do WhatsApp support, as you probably do as well, but they write to me, and often it can be the same thing. You know, the same story. This has happened. I feel anxious. I feel anxious. I feel anxious. Or you know, because of this, or this has happened. And part of me is like, you've got that story running. Why don't you stop the story? And there's this concept, you know, do you know Gretchen Rubin?
No.
Okay, you'd like her. She's a habits coach.
Oh, okay.
And she used to be a lawyer. She's fascinating, and she's come up with this model called the 4 tendencies.
Okay.
You fit into one of those categories, but one of her things about habit change, and the best way to, or one of the ways that you can change a habit, is just by literally deciding to.
Yes. Right. I'm going to like Gretchen. I love that, because that's very NLP based as well.
So it's about this power called the lightning bolt. And often you can just go, you know what, I've had enough. I'm not going to do that anymore. And you click your fingers and it's done, and you never do it again. Giving up chocolate or wine, or I'm never going to make the same relationship mistake again, or I'm not going to talk to another person like that because they're draining, or I'm just not going to do my workflow in that way anymore. Whatever it is, it can be staying up late. I'm never going to stay up late again because it's bad for me, or whatever.
And all those things have got a pain point as well, aren't they? So when we come to those moments in our life, we go, you know, that whole lightning bolt, right, that's it, you know, that's it. And often we say that's it quite a lot before that is actually it. And we repeat that pattern and we go, no, this is really it now. But, you know, there will be that point in us that we can't always see, but we can always feel it when we know that really is it. And you can decide to do that earlier, and we actually just chose not to do it before. You know, I totally resonate with that.
A lot of people aren't prepared to feel the discomfort required to stop doing a habit.
Yes, because we're supporting ourselves with our behaviours, aren't we? And it feels okay, and then you've all done it, you try and, I don't know, give up anything or go on a diet or something. It's like, you know, or dry January. I can't wait till 1st of February. I can have a drink, and you know, it's like, well, no one told you had to do dry January, you know. So we want to do these things, but you're right, it does become something that we just hold on to, and very uncomfortable. And of course, nobody likes being uncomfortable. Not and really.
I think what RTT does is it takes some of that discomfort out of it.
Okay.
Because it's a fast track process where you actually really, really want to do the new habit. You really want to go to the edge of the lift and look down because you're excited about it, because you've been brainwashed the right way, you know. So that's what I love. Otherwise, it can be a bit of a slow, torturous process.
Yes.
But you have to learn to link pleasure to discomfort sometimes.
Well, yes, you can't just have all of the one side of the coin. And then, of course, if you've never been in any pain or discomfort, how could you possibly appreciate when it has gone? Like you say, that overwhelming sense of relief that you'll feel when, oh my goodness, I didn't realise how much I was carrying like that. And you can't know one without the other, can you? It's the light, isn't it? The light and the shadow.
Yeah, we need both. We absolutely need both. Excuse me.
We are both. That's the thing. We just are. And if we keep always looking at the light and the bright, and we don't look at the shadow and the dark, then you miss a lot of learnings. But it is difficult, right? It's difficult in that dark place, in that space.
Not easy.
It's not pretty, is it? At all?
It's not pretty. It's just, it's really scratchy. It's horrible half the time. I mean, I'm doing strength training at the moment because I'm on this menopausal mission.
Yes.
And strength training is just brilliant, but it's so flipping painful. And you have to get past that pain. I mean, it's not unbearable. I work with a trainer and she gives me what I need. It's manageable, but you know, when you're getting to the end of the third set, you really are in quite a lot of pain.
Burning pain. Yeah, I've been there. I used to do that sort of stuff.
And I have to go today's pain is tomorrow's strength.
Yeah, go on, Sally.
You know?
I know, yeah. And of course, that is also transient. That pain stops, and the burning goes out, and then you get the result. And it's
Yeah.
the same thing, you know, if you go to those difficult places, you go through this, you know, like you're saying, some people are resistant, go through that, you will get the outcome. But if you just gave up, you're like, oh, this hurts, I can't do it anymore, and you didn't do that third set, it's going to take a lot longer for you to get the strength that you want and push past that barrier. So it's, you know, it's all the same, isn't it? It's all sort of metaphorical for the same stuff, and that's what's great about these conversations.
Yeah, and I always think that. I always think, God, you know, for whatever condition someone comes to me for, the teaching is always the same.
Yes. Yeah.
It really, really is. It's about accepting yourself, loving yourself, appreciating yourself. Don't squash the pain down. Let the pain come out and then grow.
Yeah.
Like, move forward.
Yeah. And that's the message, really. And it's a great message to wrap up with, because unless you let it out and you get it out, you can't do anything with it. And you're just suppressing and all those layers. And it's just going to result in pain, coping strategies, and lots of problems for the future. So hopefully there's enough coaches, therapists, and people around to help with these now. You only have to like turn a degree to find someone who will help you these days. So if any of that resonates with you, you can get in touch with Sally, sallygarozzo.com, and you can find her, of course, in Coach Magazine, January edition. So thank you so much, Sally. It's been absolutely fascinating to talk to you, as I knew it would be. Thanks for your time and all your valuable insights, and I'm sure that will be very interesting for everyone to listen to.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, take care. Thanks, Sally.
Bye.
Bye-bye.